Hello, everyone. I'm here with Jonathan Akers and Armen Mirzayan, CEO and COO, right, Jonathan,
Yep.
of CAD-Ray. First and foremost, I wanted to thank you guys for supporting my group and being from being there from the beginning. And I appreciate it. I was a newcomer on the block, and you guys trusted in me, and you've been a long-time supporter. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can continue this for years to come. And I wanted to congratulate Armen. Armen and Armen's family are very closely associated with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Wanted to congratulate them for winning the World. Oh, wait, you didn't win. Sorry. I thought you guys won. No, that's next year. But I wore this just for you, Armen, to make sure we can be a reminder that Armen and I root for the different teams.
This is gonna get ugly very fast.
That was a little surprise I had for you, Armen. Armen, go ahead and introduce yourself. I appreciate it, and tell me a little bit about you and Jonathan and CAD-Ray. And Jonathan, jump in whenever you like. I like to be like a casual conversation regarding CAD-Ray. I want to introduce you guys to the group, not just the scanner.
Sure. I'm a dentist. My wife's a dentist as well. We have license to practice in California and Nevada. We're pretty much transitioned out of California. I still go there quite a bit, but so slowly but surely we'll be full-time in Las Vegas. Let's see, I graduated in '98 from Northwestern in Chicago, close to you. Did a GPR in Hawaii and love Hawaii. We got married in Hawaii, so we go there quite often. Then started a practice from scratch, and I think it was launched January 2000. Yeah, January 2000 we opened from scratch. And then I quickly realized I'm going to be at this for 20, 30, 40 years. There's no way I'm going to be an analog dentist for the rest of my career. So why not take the plunge now? And man, that was a big mistake. The learning curve back then, it was a CEREC 3. It was a red cam. You don't design in 3D. You design in multiple windows with cross sections, tangential, and so kind of had to visualize what this thing looked. And you got one shot, like now when we scan, we'll take thousands of pictures, right? It's a video, but the original machine, it's like one scan, and in that one picture, you had to get your margins and your contacts. You're just happy to mill something that fit, and you spend half an hour grinding in the occlusion, making it look somewhat pretty. And the materials were very lackluster. So the first 5 years of my career, I'd say, with CAD/CAM with CEREC was pretty rough. I replaced quite a lot of feldspathic ceramics I shouldn't have used in those clinical situations. Probably quite a few hundred, I always say, that I replaced over time. Then Emacs came around, and I desperately needed it. So I went back to 2 appointments procedures because it would take about 40 minutes to mill, 45-minute oven time. But I needed something stronger. And since Emacs took off, that's worked out real well for me, 15, 16, 17 years. My whole mouth is Emacs. By the way, I had a full mouth rehab done 13, 14 years ago. Materials done extremely well. Now we've moved on to zirconias. We got already sintered zirconias that we can mill. We've got just soft green stick zirconias that we can mill, and then sinter in our own chairside oven. So it's been a fun ride catching all this. Concurrently with the practice, really what happened is, to summarize it or put it in a nutshell, is I had a chance to be a beta tester for CEREC, for Sirona. And it went from the 2D to 3D format, where the graphics cards got good enough to render 3D graphics. And I had the opportunity to use the scanner. It was in German. I speak a little German. We used to live in Germany for a few years. I had no manual. It would crash all the time, but I still preferred to use it over the regular CEREC. So next thing I know, that product gets launched. And I look around, I'm like, wait, I know more than anyone does about this software, about this hardware, how the camera works. So like overnight, I'm like an expert, senior educator, and I'm getting asked to go all the way. I mean, I was a classic hermit dentist. I want to be in my office, leave me alone, don't talk to anyone. Internet changed all of that very dramatically, right? But next thing I know, I'm speaking all around the country. I'm hired as a trainer. And then almost like an ambassador. It sounds kind of corny, but yeah, for digital dentistry, it was definitely a market improvement over analog, and things have developed dramatically in the last few years, actually in the last 10 years' time. So that's how I got into CAD CAM. Then I got into some CT imaging for a while. CAD-Ray initially was a imaging center where we took CT scans on a lot of patients. It's a hot topic too. A lot of users have more CT scans than intraoral scanners. I should say a lot of dentists in the US. So there's plenty who have CT scans and no intraoral scanning, which is the reverse order that we're accustomed to. And then about 5 years ago, we always felt like we could distribute technology. We're very passionate. We're very dedicated. We don't sell anything else. And quite a lot of people, Bob, said no to us. But I get it. When you pull up to someone, hey, I want to sell your product. They want to see a sales team. They want to see a support team. They want to see millions in the bank. You go through a rigorous process. The number of people that said no, some of the people we carry now initially said no to us when we first started. That's understandable. You need to show some legacy. But as soon as the first person gave us a shot, gave us a chance at distributing scanners, it just took off from there. And it's been a fun ride ever since. That's when John and Rich and a few other people that we've known from the CAD/CAM world, from the CEREC world, joined in this venture, and we started out together. And it's been an incredible fun ride. It's a lot of fun. I get to do what I do normally anyway, all day long, just geek out, talk nerd talk, technology, dentistry. I get paid to talk dentistry. I would do it anyway. So I couldn't be happier with the predicament I'm in. And it's been great working with John and Rich, who've been great partners in all this. And we have a very simple rule: make the customer happy, no matter what it takes. If we have to take back an item and refund them for the purchase of the device, we just don't want any unhappy users out there. As you know, one negative review by our patients, so we dwell on that more so than the hundreds of the positive ones we have. So we take care of people, make sure they're not stranded, and that'll probably parlay into a whole other tangent where I'm going to sound very not condescending, but a little pretentious. But I just don't think any of this technology should be driven by non-clinicians. We see the difference all day long. You need to be competent. Our team is extremely competent, but they also have a very good understanding of clinical dentistry. They understand the stresses, the rigors of a dental practice. They understand how a 5-minute delay in a procedure can ruin the whole chain of events for the rest of the day, where the hygienist is in the hallway giving you a stink eye because you're not done going over to give him a hygiene check, whatever it is. So we all get that. We've all been trained through the School of Hard Knocks. We don't have any interest in selling other stuff like cotton rolls and cotton pellets. That's a lot of people do. We're finding out a lot of distributors, they just give this stuff away for free just to maintain your sundry business, which is pretty lucrative. That's understandable. But we're at the point where we feel like the vast majority of distributors do this technology and this platform a great injustice by pretending they're masters or experts at the technology. So that was a short version, by the way, Bob.
No, I appreciate it. I feel, and I've always felt this way, and Jonathan and I talk a little bit more often than you and I talk because you're kind of busy, but I've always felt like you guys are successful because you base it on two important things: education and support. If you can't educate, if you can't teach someone how to use a piece of technology, that's failure, in my opinion. And then if that person gets educated and has a problem, and you're not there to help them, that's a huge problem. And Jonathan, I know you guys have met through the CEREC world, right?
Yeah, that's right. So Armen and I, and Rich, who's not on tonight, our other partner, we had known each other probably going on 20 years now, since 2005, 2006, from the
you guys were in high school when we
met. From the CEREC doctors world. Rich and I spent about 15 years at big distributors companies as CEREC specialists, Patterson for most of those years. And Armen would always come into town. He was the guy, in CEREC education. So we would do events and programs, and we would travel to Scottsdale when they were doing all that stuff over the years. And we'd always had a good relationship. And he was kind of the head of everything when it came to CEREC education. So for years and years, as we were plotting our exit from these big companies, we had always talked with Armen about, hey, there's more out there than just this CEREC world. There's a lot that's going to change in the industry. There's something we should do. And like Armen said, quite a few times actually before this all came to fruition, we had ideas and proposals that we went to people with, and we were told no thanks, or not at this time. And it made sense. There were partnerships out there.
They even do that, John. They just didn't bother returning a call.
Yeah, and it made sense. If you think about those well-ingrained relationships at the time, where with Patterson and Sirona, and then when Shine came on with Sirona, there was a lot of politicking and a lot of big companies at play. So you can see why a small disruptive play may not have been the best thing for those types of companies at the time. But funny enough, fast forward all those years later, I would think Chicago midwinter 2018, we had saw this Medit scanner. They had a little booth there. I don't know if you were at the show, but they had a little booth there, and someone that we knew quite well from the industry, a friend of ours at the time, was standing there. He had gotten this job for this company called Medit out of Korea, who nobody had ever heard of. And he was showing this little scanner that looked very much like a 3Shape Trios 3 at the time, and put our hands on it. So this had to be February of 2018, and put it in my mouth like I always do. I test the scanners. You guys have all seen those videos, and I'm like, wow, this thing is pretty decent. How much are they going to sell this for? And they said 18 grand. And we're like, that's pretty good. Remember, at that time, there was nothing on the market really below 35 or 40 at the time. So that was a big discrepancy. Now we're used to seeing 8 and 10 and $11,000 and 14, and even Trios 5, is under 30, 27,000, I think, whatever it is. So it was at a time when most scanners were 40, 50, $60,000, things like that. Lots of fees associated with, like, the 5-year cost of ownership at that time of Itero was probably $60,000. So we're like, wow, this is interesting. And didn't think much about it, kind of messaging with our friend who was the VP of sales there. His job was to get a sales thing going on, and this distributor signed up in the States. And fast forward to CDA, I think that was May of 2018. And we had been kind of talking to this guy back and forth. Hey, we want to put together a company and we want to sell this product. And he's like, what are you talking about? You want to sell this? Who wants to sell this product? And we said, well, me, Rich, and Armen, we're going to put a thing together. We have this idea for online sales and support. And he said, just give me a proposal. Tell me what you want to do. Can you buy this many units if we're going to do it? And we pulled together some of our own money. We bought whatever the amount of scanners was. We tested them. Armen went to town posting videos about it. We put it on the web shop. And before too long, people started buying it. And we started one by one, literally one customer at a time, Rich and myself and a couple other people, training them remotely, pre-COVID, by the way, in a time when nobody was doing remote training. No one ever heard of the remote demo or the remote installation. But most of the customers we were selling to at that time were relatively tech savvy. They were guys that have used scanners in the past, that have used CEREC in the past, or they were young dentists, millennial and Generation Z dentists that are quite tech savvy, who were pretty familiar with this kind of stuff. And so it worked really well as long as we were there to answer the phone and help them through and be that liaison between them and the manufacturer. The Medit scanner started selling, and I think we were the first ones really to sell it in any volumes here in the States. And little by little, we started putting together the educational curriculum. So all the value-added stuff that we do, the level 1 and the level 2 and the level 3 courses, people started coming to LA to Armen's office at the time to do the training, and we started putting these road shows on all throughout the country, pretty much every other weekend, just like we do now, somewhere in the country, and people were showing up. And so we knew we were onto something. And those first couple of years with Medit were absolutely crazy. It was a disruptive product at the time. It was, for the money, no one had ever seen anything like it. And we believe that we helped them come to the forefront. I think right now Medit is the number 3 best-selling scanner in the world. If you look at the previous 20 years, nobody had been able to do that. Carestream had tried, and 3M had tried, and big companies, Straumann had tried, and all these companies have tried to bring a scanner to market, and nobody was able to break the behemoth that was CEREC and 3Shape and Itero. And now I think 1 out of every 3 scanners sold in the country is Medit. So we were the first, and then of course they started expanding, bringing on other dealers, all good stuff. And we started expanding also. We understood that it couldn't just be scanners. It also had to be the full line of CAD/CAM equipment. So quickly we partnered with Exocad, and we learned the good, the bad, and the ugly of Exocad and the struggles that existed with CAD design. We started dealing with third-party milling machines, 4 and 5 axis milling machines. Armen probably threw 8 of them out the window during the testing. We distributed some for a while. Some didn't work out. We're happy with the products we have now, but it took a long time to get here. And then little by little, 3D printing started to become a huge thing. SprintRay was really the market leader in the easy-to-use 3D printer geared at dentists, but now there's lots of them out there. And we're happy to represent 3 of them in the market, the 3 biggest ones that are sold chairside, SprintRay, Acker, and Desktop Health. And in the course of all that, we decided that we needed to control the workflow from start to finish. So we invested lots of time, money, and energy in building our own CAD software called Clinics. It's the only CAD out there for dentists that's completely based in the web browser for single unit crowns right now and night guards. We can maybe hit on that a little bit later. So now we have something that can take any doctor using any scanner, through our clinic software, using any printer or any milling machine to take them from start to finish. And we're quite proud of the work we've done there. We recruited the guy that was the head of R&D at Dentsply Sirona of CRX Software for 20 years to be our chief technology officer on the clinics product, and the guy that was the product manager over at Sirona that took, I think, the world from 2,500 or 3,000 CEREC users to well over 40,000 in a 10-year period. So there's some very strong people on our team on the software side of things. And as the future goes on, we're very, very excited for that as well. That's the brief intro to who we are and where we come from.
Yeah, I appreciate all that. And, you know, I know a little bit of it by looking you guys up before even I knew you guys. And I really appreciate the clinic's product. And I actually wanted Armen to do a little demo for us for the group later on at another video. It would be nice to show. And you guys are, before even I get to other things, you guys are even offering a free subscription to whomever buy a scanner, correct? That's one of the specials that you guys have for us.
Yeah, it's something that only we're able to do, right? We can give 6 months free of the clinic's product, and by the way, it's $99 a month with no subscription, so it's come and go as you please. It's because we're the distributor, because we make it and we sell it. We have a lot of leeway to do that kind of stuff. And for people that buy printers and milling machines from us, we can give them a full 5-year license of the software at no charge. So when you compare that to what it would cost to run either 3Shape Design Studio or CAD over those amount of years, that's like a $10,000 savings.
Right. Yeah. Right. Actually, that's spot on, John. Just to reiterate, Bob, you have the scanner, as you know. Some listeners may not be aware of this. You have the scanner, and then you have the manufacturing device, whether it's milling or printing, and you need to connect this with software, right? So as of December 2019, you can take any scanner scans and take them to any printer or any milling machine. You got to know what you're doing to make that happen. Some of the connections are easy, some of them are not hard. So now we just completely understood that everything revolves around the CAD software. And every time somebody wanted to buy a milling machine or a printer, they needed design software. So for that, they're spending in excess well over 10 grand, like John just said. Between that 5-year license for CAD and CAM, you'll need both. Well, if you're printing, you won't need the CAM. You'll just have the necessary slicing software. But it's a substantial cost, and it really was a hurdle and a barrier to people. And then just to be very direct, the ultimate thing happened where your favorite topic, your favorite company buys exocad. This time we've spent so much money customizing, training, making it very specific to our needs. And when Align buys exocad, the only assumption we can make is that long term, they're coming into chairside milling. They're going to have their own milling machine. They're going to cut everyone off. We'd be stupid to run a business thinking that Align's going to play nice, let us all use their software that they own. So within the week of Align purchasing exocad, we contacted this gentleman, Roddy, that John mentioned, and Wolf, who is the programmer, the chief programmer at Sirona. Like, hey, we need a CAD software. And the programmer, Wolf, said the only way he would do it is if he could play around to see if he could make it work on a browser. So everything we do is in Google Chrome, and that's got tremendous advantages. A guy like you could really rattle them off and understand what the implications are there. And then the one thing we did was we went the complete opposite end of the spectrum compared to robust software like the ones we've mentioned so far. We've just taken away as so many things that can distract you and get you lost. We just want it's geared towards an assistant doing all the work for you. We know how docs are. I'm lazy. We're all lazy. We try and delegate as much as we can. So we're trying to make that process, the workflow of getting the scans in, marking your margin, whether it's for a night guard or a crown, getting it to the end result with minimal work, and eliminating lots of tools so you don't get lost. So it was very, very important in this process. It took at least 2 years before we had the courage to even show it to someone, because it was like the first year was just proof of concept. Can we run this through a browser? Can the browser tap into the graphics card? Is the graphics card going to be able to render these images or not? So full year and just proof of concept, and then we just slowly started to build in. The first thing we built was the copy crown, which is really easy. That's extremely easy to do in a lot of CAD software. Everything else beyond that, we have to design things freeform. It gets more complicated. So just want to put in more info from what John introduced.
Right. I mean, and I want to first of all let you guys know that we're recording this and playing it for my group, and I'm assuming a lot of people who are going to be customers of CAD-Ray are not familiar with a lot of terms that you're talking about. So I'm going to kind of explain it.
Great.
CAD,
Always a good idea.
you know, so when you scan a tooth, you transfer it in a open format file such as an STL, and that goes into a computer. And when we say CAD, computer assisted design, a program designs this crown. Now that CAD computer, that CAD software, transfers it into a computer assisted milling, a CAM. Now we're talking about printing, and that could go from the CAD software, computer assisted design, into a printer or milling machine. So that's a little bit of an explanation, just in case someone who's interested in buying a scanner, they haven't bought a scanner and they're just a little nervous. These are the terms. It's pretty easy stuff. You'll get a hang of it.
Yeah,
Bob, that was a great summary. Sorry, John. Just want to, before I forget, I really want to make sure you emphasize this. I want to make sure people understand what you just said, because if they understand what you just said, they stand to save at least 6 figures in their career. Okay, because 10 years ago, I paid a very nice premium to be able to have my scanner talk to my CT machine, to my CAD, so I can manufacture. And if you don't know these things, you're new to this term, I suggest you learn all this. If that's what we do, we explain all this, we teach you. You stand to save so much money in your career. I mean, you can get from A to Z. Maybe some components are easier with one system. Maybe some components are more elaborate, more robust in another system. But the point is, it's very empowering for the dentist. And this is what bugs me a lot. I love correcting people. Like, the number one question we get all the time is, can I print with this scanner? It tells me how, what's the word? How much more education needs to be out there. People need to be well versed that it doesn't matter what scanner you have. You're going to ask me which one's the better scanner. If there's no such thing, every scanner can introduce an error. Every scanner can render a very nice result. You just got to know what you're doing. Some scanners are easier to use than others. Some scanners do terribly in the anterior. Some scanners do, they're very mature. The software, the algorithms, the hardware, they can tackle the anterior much better than others. But in the back of the mouth, a prep tooth is pretty easy to scan with 20 some odd scanners on the market. So your users, that's all we can do. For us, that's all we do. We're never pushy. We don't shove stuff down people's throats. We explain to them how things work and then naturally decide, oh, this makes perfect sense. I can incorporate this. I can integrate it into our office. But what you just summarized is very empowering for a general dentist to understand, any dentist, any specialist to understand. You're in control of how you gather this data sets, the models and the designs. You're in control of everything along the chain of the process, and you got to make sure you render a very nice restoration that you're proud of. They can deliver in the patient's mouth. So once you understand all this stuff, then the floodgates open. So we have multiple, more than, John, correct me if I'm wrong, more than half of our users have multiple scanners, have multiple milling machines, have multiple ovens. Well, yeah. A good chunk of our users have multiple scanners. A significant number have multiple manufacturing methods in their office, and they understand how this stuff works. They can connect everything to each other.
That's right. And I would say, Bob, thanks for slowing us down. If you get me and Armen going, you have to remember that the two of us talk this stuff, high level tech stuff all day long. Probably it would have been better if we brought one of our support staff on the line with us, because these are the people that take doctors from never having scanned before and not maybe knowing what an STL file is and not even knowing what a graphics card is to get them successfully using their scanner. So thank you for slowing us down there before we go down that rabbit hole. But like Armen said, we service a very unique group of clients. About half are very tech savvy and have used CEREC before and have multiple scanners in their practice, or associated somewhere in the past where they've used technology or came out of the Army where CEREC is very widely used. And then about half, maybe even 60%, are purchasing their first ever piece of 3D scanning equipment. And those are the ones that require what CAD-Ray does best. Those are the ones that require the hand-holding, because when you first get a scanner, especially if you're not super tech savvy, and if you're not typically the type of person that sits around watching YouTube videos about dentistry and follows all these groups on Facebook, you may not know what the heck you're doing. And so it's very, very important that someone gives you a recipe and a guide with how to be successful. It's not the same thing, and I'm sure you guys clinically can talk about this. It's not the same thing as popping a PVS impression. There's so many things that you have to know and you have to learn in a short period of time, but also you want to use this new exciting piece of technology for everything it's worth. And so we built this recipe for our customers, from the initial remote onboarding session to get them familiar with just the look and feel of the software, to how to use things, to the correct scanning path. to what we do with the software once we render the 3D models, how we send it to the labs, what the labs are going to do with it. We spend a great deal of time and energy making sure that our customers understand all these things so they can get the most out of the investment that they made. I just don't think you can get those things from the big companies of the world who have so many more things that they have to sell to remain profitable. This is all we do. 300 years, I think, of collective CAD/CAM experience on our team amongst the 16 or 17 people that work with us. Everybody has sat chairside before, either as a dental assistant or a hygienist or a sales rep for clinical companies, or they've been hygienists themselves or clinicians themselves. So I think we're just uniquely positioned to do those types of things.
Right. Yeah, and I appreciate it. Don't worry. I won't let you guys get too technical.
Yeah.
I feel like I have an unofficial level 1 in my office. I've had at least 10 or 15 of Chicago people come in and look at a Medit, look at, the other thing that I have. And but it's so important. The reason, and I contacted you guys for this video, is because I really want people to understand what CAD-Ray is. CAD-Ray is not a scanner company, in my opinion. I mean, it's your company. I'm defining it. Sorry, but to me, CAD-Ray is support and education, meaning that I've been scanning for a long time. I consider myself a tech-savvy person, and I have to call support once in a while because I'm in the middle of a scan. I'm like, oh God, what happened here? So every time I've called your support line, literally, I don't even have to wait. Somebody picks up the phone. I don't know how you guys do it. And they are so nice, so knowledgeable, and so courteous. I want them to know this, that you guys have done a great job creating this culture of helping people, and they do a good job. Jonathan, I want to tell this story, and this story is written in a post in the group. A gentleman, one of our members, talked to me about scanners for a while, and I explained to him, this is what I have. I have a couple of different scanners, and this is, for me, the Medit is the best bang for the money at the moment. So he goes and buys a Medit, and then a couple of months later, he'd call me like, "Oh my God, I'm not really happy with the support. I can't get anybody on the phone." And I'm shocked. I'm like, "What are you talking about? Did you talk? Who did you talk to?" I was trying to get a name of one of you guys. And he goes, "Oh, I'm still on hold. I'm calling South Korea." So he's calling Medit. He bought the scanner from Shine because he felt sorry for his rep, and during the pandemic and blah blah blah. So anyways, Jonathan volunteered to help him out, and we actually, even though he's not your customer, you guys helped him out. I really appreciate it. And then I wanted to show people that you will need support. I don't care how tech savvy you are. I don't care if you're a CEREC user for 20 years. You're buying a new piece of equipment, and something can go wrong. And you guys have done a great job. Tell me a little bit about these meetings that you guys have, these educational things. How did this come about? I think I'd like to thank CEREC for all these ideas, that they started all this, right? You guys are modeling your company based on almost like CEREC docs, right?
No doubt about it. Why reinvent the wheel? We had all been there and witnessed CEREC from literally being the hardest product in dentistry to sell. I sold it for 15 years. Try selling something to people that they don't want. That's too expensive, that everybody hates on all over the message boards, that people think is crazy. But then it's like a life-changing experience. And props to the marketing group and the CEO and the guys we know actually very well from back in those days at Sirona, before it was Dentsply Sirona, because this idea of putting excited users together along with potential users together and creating this community, this culture that revolved around the technology and around the machine was something incredible in those days, in that time. And people would almost refer to it like a cult, and I'm sure you've seen it before, these big meetings that they would do. But the educational component that Armen was a huge part of, going back to 2005 and 2006 and beyond, is something that we knew we had to do. Building that community, just this time around open systems and around education and support, was something that we didn't have to look very far to know about, because we've all done it before. We lived it for so long. So we just wanted to essentially do the same thing, but give people the option of products that they would want to buy. We had all joked that we had spent years and years convincing people to buy these products to make pennies compared to what the big companies were making. So now we get to do it for ourselves and do it the way that we had always envisioned it. And we don't have to sell anything. We just have to provide people options and give them all the information they need to make an educated decision. This is why when you pop on our website, you see everything that you need to make an informed purchase decision. I think we were the first ever company in dentistry to put a scanner on a website, put the price on the website, and let you add it to your shopping cart and check out with your credit card. It's this pricing transparency and fulfillment the day after you place the order. No one was ever doing that stuff before with scanners, and it's nothing novel. It's nothing new. We had just been the first company in dentistry to do that.
Yeah. I look at I get a lot of messages from members. Oh, I found this place. It's got it $500 cheaper than the group, and I'm like, okay, who's going to help you when you need help? So there is value, and I understand people always trying to save a few $100 here and there. Your prices are very, very competitive. And I know a lot of companies try to undercut you here and there, and sometimes even cheat on sales tax. And that is, to me, is a big no-no, because it's so easy. I talked to my accountant the other day. It's so easy for the IRS for the state tax places to ask for a list of your purchases and then fine you, basically. So I'm not going to even address those things, to be honest. I don't have time to save $500 on something that's going to be basically saving me a lot of time and money.
Here's a simple summary. If $500 is the difference, then you shouldn't be buying a scanner because you're not ready for it. Okay, you're gonna have to invest some time. You have to invest some resource. You're gonna have to invest some energy. And if $500 is the deciding factor, just don't buy a scanner. You're not ready. Because you're wasting money. You're not going to be able to incorporate it. You're buying it on price. You don't have the incentive to commit to the learning curve. You're not going to put in the effort to integrate it into your office. So along the lines of what John was saying, it's incredible this many people have CRX. I used it for a long time. I still have it operational, but the average person now has to learn how to scan, learn how to design, learn how to mill, learn how to cook it in the oven, learn how to stain and glaze it, and learn how to bond. I mean, those are monumental steps, and somebody who hasn't done that before from dental school or however long they've been in practice. So what we like with what we're doing is your first step is always a scanner, or generally the scanner. And then some people will master that in a week. Others might take them a year or two. Some are not convinced it's for them. It's human nature. You just know it's not going to work. So we have imagine the CREC timelines all squeezed into a weekend that you have to learn all this stuff. Ours is stretched out over a pace that you're comfortable with. And that's worked out really, really well for our users. Whenever somebody comes back to us after they've invested in a scanner and say, okay, what's my next step? I want to manufacture. I'm going to get into this. There's nothing more flattering. That means we've done them right. They didn't waste money. They got the good use out of technology, and they're happy with it. And there's nothing more flattering you can do in your life than help someone and they come back for more business. You know you're doing your job well.
Yeah,
so it's been very empowering.
We offer really 3 or 4 different levels of courses, Bob, to answer your question. We have these level 1s, which are actually not even taught by us anymore. We have groups of local clinicians around the country, like yourself, that will host doctors at their office for a morning, typically a Friday morning, like 10 to 3, something like that. And this level 1 course is geared at taking someone that's never scanned before, probably, or has not mastered scanning, and lets them leave after a couple of hours, being able to at least scan an upper and a lower arch in a minute or 2 minutes time. Learning all the clinical techniques they need to learn, how to retract the tissue properly, how to dry everything properly, the scan path, the armamentarium you need to scan properly. It's very hands-on, very immersive, usually small groups, like less than 10 people, usually 5 people at those types of events, taught by the CAD-Ray faculty members. And that's free. All these courses, by the way, are free for anyone that's bought any equipment for us for life. We don't make any money selling courses to people that have done business with us. People do pay us, by the way, that have bought elsewhere. People pay us $2,500 a pop to come to these courses. So it is a profit center for us in that regard, selling education. But that's not our main business. We do it for free for the people that do business with us and buy scanners from us. Level 2 is, we call it Intro to Digital Dentistry. It's a very material intensive 2-day course that Armen teaches and has perfected over the last couple of years. Gives people a little bit more than the basics when it comes to scanning. how to not introduce errors into their scans, touches on a little bit of design and different softwares like Clinics and a little bit in Exicad, shows them what their lab is doing so they can have better communication with the laboratory and they can understand what the manufacturing process looks like from the lab side. And then we get into a little bit of merging with CTs and guided surgery, a little bit of ortho, sometimes a little bit of airway, just everything that their scanner is capable of. And we'll finish that off with a little introduction to 3D printing chairside, just so they can see if that's something they might want to pursue in the future or not. And most people nowadays are at least a little bit interested in 3D printing and what it could offer. And so that's a good teaser to the next level course, which is a level 3, Introduction to Chairside Manufacturing, Printing and Milling. Heavy on design, both in Clinics and a little bit in Exicad, and all the steps and procedures that go into printing something from start to finish, including polishing and glazing and doing whatever has to be done, and milling things, learning a little bit about CAM software and nesting restorations, cooking things in the oven, baking zirconia crowns, baking Emax crowns, polishing, staining, and glazing. And that's a 2-day hands-on immersive course that we do as well. And so actually pretty much every other weekend in Vegas in our training facility there, something's going on. And then we do a scaled down version of that level 2 a few times per year in classrooms and hotel ballrooms basically around the country for people to come and see.
Yeah, that's great. And I've attended some of your courses and it's been great. I also want to mention that you guys have been kind enough to for the members of my group that even if they haven't bought anything from you guys, they can come to a level 1 and basically kick the tires and see what a scanner is about and do those things. So I appreciate that. And I know some of my members have taken advantage of that to see what a scanner is if they do really want to spend 15 to I can't even believe I'm saying 15,000, you know. I used to on my first scanner I spent 40, you know. And it's you know, it's a great service that you guys do. I think Armen said it best is that, you know, I'm going to you know, give a shout out to our friend, common friend Rich Rosenblatt that got me into actually milling. And you know, I talk about this that if you're not enthusiastic about dentistry, there is no reason to invest in this. Just take an impression. But do know that if you become interested in this, you take control and dentistry becomes more enjoyable again. I love it. Every day, you know, that I go to work and I have to mill a crown. I want the challenge, you know. You know, Armen and Jonathan, I want to switch gears a little bit about scanners. The most common question I get right now is that what should I get? CAD-Ray offers, I think 3, right? 3 brands of scanners.
3 manufacturers, yeah. More to come actually soon too.
Which one?
Go on. There's more to come, but
okay. Yeah. But the 2 main ones that everyone talks about these days is the Medit 700 and the Trios 5 that's been out. Obviously, there are Trios 4 and 3, but you know, let's concentrate on these 2. And everybody who asks me, I tell them, look, any scanner can give you excellent results, even from that company that I don't like. They give you excellent results if you're doing crown and bridge or simple implants and things like that. Am I correct? Give us a little bit of information on those 2 scanners for me, please.
Sure. I'll give just a clinical overview, and then John can, because he's got his finger on the pulse, he can go systematically down the list of things that the clinician wants from us. So for us, the most important thing is never to oversell something. So the first thing we got to figure out is what do the doctors want? Okay. What are your goals? What are you going to be scanning? Are you going to just do a handful of single units that you're going to send to the lab, or do you want to scan for yourself? You're going to be scanning every single patient in the office. You're going to take records that way. I mean, a lot of people are using this to take records instead of the SLR cameras, as they're so tedious now. My team hates it. The staff hates handling the big camera with the mirrors. So quick scan, in a minute or 2, you've got both arches articulated in the patient's chart. So like we said earlier, we can get you from A to Z with every scanner. Some scanners, it's like riding a bike to get from A to Z. The other ones driving a car. The other ones are a very premium car. but they all can get you from A to Z, and that's my job. I think a big component comes down to how risk averse are you? Is this your first venture into digital? Do you have any trepidation? Is there hesitation? Are you intimidated? Is budget an issue? We have somebody starting a practice from scratch. Every dollar counts. If you've scanned before and you're actually, a better way to say this is if you're a believer, if that's why we take it so seriously. That's what bugs me about all these other distributors who just throw the camera out, take the order, and here you go. You figure it out. You deal with that. It drives me nuts. We take it very seriously because we spend a lot of effort to make sure the doctor understands the opportunity, the possibilities that level 2 course John was defining. I show you a high level view of all the different ways you can use your scanner, from just sending it to the lab to making night guards to doing ortho to guided surgery to restoring implants. There's so many ways. My job is to make sure you can milk your scanner for all it's worth. So you have a premium experience. So we love the Trios 5 that came out very recently. It's performing spectacularly. But we can get you anywhere from A to Z with scanners. And budget is the issue. We'd recommend you start with a Medit i600, actually, wired. If you want a premium experience, then for sure the Trios 5 is outperforming everyone. So, John, I'll let you tackle what you guys see routinely when doctors choose one over the other and what the main reasons are for that.
Yeah, for sure. No, that.
Let me give you a little bit of a framework that you can talk about these ones, because I've bought the hype too for the Trios. I got the i700 and I'm like, oh man, maybe I should get and I don't even need it. I got 2 scanners already. So there is a huge hype about this Trios 5. I'm really excited about it. I want to see it at the midwinter meeting myself. What I want you to do, tell me the differences, and what I want you to tell me my experience with Trios has been not as good of a user interface as the Medit. People complain about what I like to call it the European way of doing things rather than customizing it for our market. Talk to me about the differences a little bit, please.
Yeah, they're different, and I will preface by saying Armen's right. Anybody can make any. They're all really good scanners, right? And anybody can make any of those things work with the right amount of support. Some may be a little bit easier out of the box, for someone that's never held a scanner before and has received no training. There are some out there that are a bit more forgiving, like if you don't retract the tissue as well, and if you don't follow the scan path, like maybe the more premium ones like Trios 5 are a bit more forgiving for your staff member in that way. But if you spend a couple of hours with us on Medit, for most cases, you will achieve the same results in about the same amount of time. Like people arguing over a 19-second scan versus a 26-second. To me, that's just crazy. Of course, it's fun and it's good marketing, when I put them in my mouth and I can scan my whole arch in 12.5 seconds with Trios 5. But the part you didn't see is I can do it with Medit i600 or i700 in 18.5 seconds, or something like that. So I don't like getting caught up in all that type of stuff. Any scanner can do the job for sure. And it really depends on the type of cases the doctor is going to be working on, because there are certain things that the more premium scanners are better at. If you're scanning, for example, a lot of edentulous arches or a lot of long edentulous spans or a lot of metal or heavily restored patients, and you do a lot of implant work where you're scanning multiple scan bodies with a lot of space in between, or tissue when you're doing at time of surgery where there's a bloody environment, Trios far and away is a better scanner for those type of doctors. I think that's a small percentage, by the way, of the overall group of GPs that are using scanners. But the guys that are doing that type of stuff, they can do it with Medit, and we've taught people how to do it with Medit, and we continue to teach people how to do it with Medit. But if you held both in your hand on a difficult case like that, you would throw the Medit out the window for those types of cases. And that might be a 5% type of the market that are doing those types of cases every day. I'm not saying you can't do those cases with Medit, by the way. You just have to know how it behaves, and it's going to be a bit slower and a bit more laggy in those types of cases than the Trios would be. Now, for standard cases, for tooth-borne cases, for everyday crown and bridge, and for everyday night guards and everyday ortho, there's not a huge difference in the time it takes to scan between even the low entry level at $11,000 Medit i600 and the Mercedes, the premium $30,000 Trios 5. If you spend the time watching our videos and doing our onboarding session and learning the little nuances of how the Medit scanner behaves, because it is a little bit different and it is a cheaper product and it does have a couple more things you need to know and pay attention to. It doesn't have the premium scan engine the way that a Trios does, but if you follow our recipe you'll be scanning that arch in a minute the same way you would with a Trios. That's for sure.
And also, I want to add here, because you didn't mention implants. I scan, implants all day long for restoring implants. There's
Absolutely.
absolutely no issues with Medit, correct?
Not at all, especially onesie twosies, and even multiple. The AI feature that Medit has is phenomenal, and that's we spend a lot of time on that in our level 2 class. So if you're willing to put the time and the energy in, and you want a product that gives you incredible value for the money, the Medit software has so many things. If you're a nerdy dentist and you want to get into all different types of design applications and open source merging of files, Medit gives you so much for your money. Actually, we say over and over again, the Medit software is probably worth more than the Medit scanner. What they've built in that software environment is crazy, considering what you pay for it, because the software is free. Like anybody can actually download that software and bring scans from any other scanner into that software and use all those features at no cost, which is crazy. And that might not be forever, by the way, with Medit being sold for $2 billion nowadays. We'll see what happens. But for no fees and for the robust nature of the software that they built, Medit's incredible. And for the majority of dentists that want to get into scanning for a very good price and are willing to put a little bit of time and energy into learning, you can't go wrong with a Medit i600 or i700. Bob, it really just depends on the personality type of the doctor, because like you said, you're getting all crazy about the Trios 5. 3Shape's a big company. They spend a lot of marketing dollars. They put out really, really nice European design premium products. If you're the type of guy that looks at new cars every 2 years and type of dentist that looks at new equipment at every trade show, and it really gets you going to see the newest, latest, and greatest stuff, there's no way you're not going to want a Trios 5 in your hand. It's
right.
It's not a huge jump from the 4 to the 5, but just the design is really sleek and small and ergonomic, and the scan engine they put in it is quite smooth and quite fast. And this scan assist feature that pretty much corrects anything you can throw at it is pretty wild. It's got this caries detection aid in there, which people are whatever about those things, but it's a very nice little tool that your hygienist could use for helping you educate patients and things like that. So if you wanted the best scanner on the market and budget was no issue, and you wanted the latest and greatest thing, go for the Trios 5. It's great. The interface doesn't have as much functionality as Medit for CAD stuff and for merging of files. But if it's scan and send, or if you're going to export to other software anyway, like 3Shape CAD or like ExoCAD or like Blue Sky Plan or like whatever else is out there, like Clinics, and you just want your assistant to have the easiest overall time scanning and spend the least amount of time having to worry about stuff, Trios is phenomenal in that way. But it's 3 times the price of Medit i600. So this is the thing that the clinician has to think about when they're making a decision. We have lots of people out there, by the way, that have a Prime Scan or have a Trios 4 and now a Trios 5, but also have a Medit i600 because they have 2 associate doctors in the practice, or they do record taking for all hygiene visits and things like that. So it's not to say you can't have one premium type scanner and then a couple of Medit i500 or i600 scanners. I don't want to downplay the 500 either. There are still thousands and thousands of people out there using the Medit i500. It was the game-changing product, and it's still really, really good.
Yeah. I know a couple of our friends that we started with the i500 in my group, if I remember, it's still a great. I tell them, they want to trade up, and I'm like, why would you want to trade up? Just hold on to that and get a new one, because you're going to need one for every room. Can you talk to me a little bit about this wireless versus wired one? I hear that the Trios, so this is really important. And if this is a functional thing about the Trios, I believe it could be the game changer. Is it true that you can have a center computer and take the wireless Trios 5 from room to room? Is it accurate?
This is huge, and this is actually the reason I like Trios. Actually, all the wireless Trios. It's not only the Trios 5; it's even the Trios 3 wireless and the Trios 4 wireless. It's this 3Shape share or a Trios share platform they built. It's the only true wireless thing out there because of the Wi-Fi technology they use. So Medit has a wireless scanner. It's okay. The i700 wireless. The downfall of that technology is that it requires the transmitters inside the camera, and the receiver is this USB powered antenna, basically, that has to plug into your computer. And because of the technology Medit uses, it's very fast. The data transfer rate is very good, but it requires direct line of sight, like within 10 feet. So if there's like even a dental chair or a dental unit or a wall in the way, it's going to break connection and it's not going to work. So the advantage is this 60 hertz frequency they use is really fast for data exchange. Disadvantage is if you're going to use it in multiple rooms, you need to unplug that silly antenna each time and bring it to each other operatory, which means you have to have a high-powered PC, like a $2,000, $3,000 PC in every op. Most people aren't going to do that. And those little antennas, by the way, you can get more than one of them. They're $1,300 a piece. So by the time you start building out that true wireless solution, it's expensive. And if you're going to do it the other way, it's kind of clunky. So most people just keep it on the cart. What 3Shape has done with Trio Share is they have built in this Wi-Fi capability where you can run 3Shape software on the laptop that comes with the scanner. And as long as you're within like 30 or 40 yards, like the size of most dental offices, you keep it in the hallway or keep it in one room or in the doc's private office or in the lab area. All you've got to do is bring the scanner from room to room, and you could use this splash top for business that 3Shape is licensed, and you can essentially transmit what's happening on the scan computer to all of your operatory PCs. Now, this does require strong Wi-Fi. That's the only requirement there. If you're in a rural area or someplace where your Wi-Fi speed is like 10 Mbps, it may not work very well. But in most places now, you're getting Wi-Fi speeds of 25, 50, 100, up to 1,000 Mbps. I would say 25 is about the bare minimum for this to work properly. But what's really neat.
Are you talking Wi-Fi or are you talking internet speed?
Internet speed. So, and a good Wi-Fi. So you just need good, strong internet with good Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi signal has to be strong.
Yep.
But also Wi-Fi, sometimes it can be a little bit of laggy when you have walls.
It can be, and by the way, it doesn't need to be connected to the outside internet either. So if you have like a Wi-Fi router that you want, like an intranet type thing that you want to build, you can do that as well. So you can put a router in this. There's all kinds of things. Now, for most people, it's going to work well straight out of the box. Just downloading SplashTop for Business, installing Trio Share on, and splash topping it from one to the other. It works phenomenally well. What's cool is the Trios 5, the 4 and the 3 don't have this, but the 5 is an integrated gyro mouse also. So you can control the software using just the handpiece of the camera, move it from window to window to window. But you could also control using SplashTop as well. So Trio Share is amazing because it really is the only true wireless solution. You can leave that computer somewhere else. You open up the SplashTop app on each of your operatory PCs. They could be bottom of the barrel computers. They don't need any special graphics cards, anything like that.
Maybe you're on your iPad.
Yeah, you can do it on your iPad also. As long as you have strong signal, it's just basically streaming what's going on the Trios laptop to those PCs. Bring the camera with you from room to room. Actually, it's working phenomenally well. We have hundreds of people that are using it out there every day. And so if you're the type of office that really desires like this, hey, just take the scanner and go type thing, you should go for the Trios. Even works with the Trios 3, by the way. Trios 3, Trios 4, or Trios 5.
That's an excellent point. I don't know if you remember or not, the way I set up my office was I bought 2 computers, 2 power cables. So I was planning to take the 700 from one room to another. It never worked that way. Now we just leave one scanner in each room, so we don't have to move things around. But yeah, that's a great that's a very great new feature that they come up with. I wanted to also talk about you sent me the new 2023 specials that you sent me. It's very, very interesting. I'm going to have it in the caption of this video so people can take a look at it and then directly go to the website to do it, or basically either message me with their information so I can send it to you. Tell me a little about that.
Yeah, so we, as a sponsor of your group, Bob, we do some very special stuff. We have to be careful with our distribution agreements. So a lot of this stuff is not advertised out there by us, but we do have private links for your group to be able to use for members only. With the Medit scanners, we have.
You don't have to mention any details if you don't.
No, I can mention it. It's totally fine. I'm just saying that you don't see this like on our main landing page. It's got to come from the DIG links, just because we have to follow manufacturer pricing based on distribution agreements. But for Medit scanners, we waive the shipping fee for DIG members, which is $99, and everybody gets a set of extra scan tips, 4 extra tips worth $300 with the Medit scanner. And by the way, Medit right now is giving Visa gift cards away with every purchase. So for i600, you get a $1,000 Visa gift card. i700, $1,500, and i700 wireless, $2,000. That's cash. So you'll get a gift card a couple weeks later that basically pays for your laptop. If you
Wow.
think of it that way. So pricing is really good on Medit right now. And then with Trios, which this is the one we have to be careful with, there's $1,000 off the top for you guys on Trios 5, plus a free set of scan tips. So that's $500. That's basically $1,500 off Trios 5, $500 off Trios 4, or $250 off Trios 3, including the scan tips for both as well. So that's really good. Everyone that buys anything from CAD-Ray always gets, no matter what, all of our levels of education, our video library, hundreds and hundreds of hours of video content on the website, a 6-month subscription to our clinic software at $99 a month. So that's worth $600 right there. And a $2,000 credit to one of our 4 partner laboratories that we deal with. That's Burbank in California. That's Evolution Dental Sciences in Buffalo, New York, Patriot Dental Lab up there in Northern Michigan, and IDT in Memphis, Tennessee. And the way that credit works is you send them whatever you want to send them. You get 50% off your bill every month until you hit the $2,000 in credit. So it's a real $2,000 in actual savings you get. So when you bundle that all together, I don't care what pricing is out there from other people, based on what you get from us, plus the training and the support, it's really unbeatable. And all of those specials are not available to people that just click on the website. Those are DIG specials.
I really appreciate it. And I just want to give a shout out to our friend Andrew Armen as well. So if you're using one of the labs Jonathan just mentioned, you know that my favorite one is the Burbank in California, as they are one of the sponsors of the group as well. Now, as far as computers go, this is another hot topic. Trios 5 comes with a computer, right?
Yes, it's required. Let's not say it comes with it. You're required now to buy the computer that 3Shape sells along with it. A lot of people think that's a money-making scheme. I can promise you that nobody makes money selling computers. Armen's going to laugh at that statement. Nobody makes money selling computers. What 3Shape has done is they've completely in-housed the experience. So the computers come from their factory, pre-configured, preloaded, with 3 years of manufacturer warranty and support. And the main reason they did that is for years and years, they did what Medit did. They allowed you to bring your own computer, install the software as long as you meet the specs. Because 3Shape is a much more robust software and there's a lot of things that go into it, it's not as light as an installation as Medit and some others. It just became a nightmare for them. And actually, they developed quite a bad reputation for many years for support. And it's very hard to support multiple brands of PC. So they did away with that whole idea where you can bring your own computer. They buy them, factory direct from Dell. They set them up and they send you a computer along with your scanner, at whatever price. There's a small markup, I'm sure. We, as the dealer, don't make any money. It's basically just a pass-through cost for us. And so a lot of people moan and complain about that, but ultimately it's actually in the best interest of the user. And once you start explaining that to people, they tend to get it and understand, because if you call us or if you call 3Shape support, every computer is the same. The procedure for repairing or fixing or updating the computer is the same. It's not like with Medit where our support team has to do a lot of digging to the internal parts of the computer and the settings. It's from a support aspect, it's a lot. And so we applaud actually what 3Shape has done, and they've pretty much turned their reputation for poor support 180 degrees by doing that and in-housing that whole thing. Medit's a bit different.
That's really important too. Go ahead, Armen.
Sorry, there's a little lag, so did not mean to interrupt. But you know exactly what we're talking about. Like, somebody will buy a laptop, and it takes us hours to figure out that there's not enough power going to the USB port, so they can't connect to the scanner. But it's hours and hours of work for us to troubleshoot. Is it the cable? Is it the scanner? Is it a BIOS? Things I don't even understand. Like, you don't want to deal with that. So you standardize what everyone has. You follow the same protocol for every machine. It makes perfect sense. I definitely agree with what John said. It's not a money-making thing at all. They just want to make the support experience much nicer. When you're handling that many people, you got to make sure they're all on the same machine.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but I'm the biggest. I was the biggest skeptic about that, because I remember I told Jonathan, no, I'm a techie guy. I'm going to buy on my own computer. Then I realized that it was actually it was cheaper buying it through you guys than online, and you guys had tested these units for the i700. Now, iTerra does the same thing. PrimeScan does the same thing. They ship it because, and everybody says, oh, they're so great. No, because they perfected that. They tested everything. They have the right settings. So people think Prime Scan is so much better. Okay, it's better, but because the two hardware have been talking to each other for 20 years, these guys have done that, right?
Standardization in manufacturing for that type of stuff is key. And like if we had one of our support people on the line here, we support Trios and Medit all day, every day. Medit has more support calls because there are a variety of different computers out there. Now, granted, we're lucky because most of our customers follow our recommendations, and we know like the top 5 or 10 best computers out there for people to use. And if people buy those, typically they're going to be fine, and we know how to work on those because we've been doing it for so long. You're always going to have people, maybe like you, Bob, that want to build their own or buy their own, or think they know better than what the manufacturer who made the scanner says, and they say, no, this graphics card's better. I don't care what they say. And we're like, yeah, maybe that's true, but remember, these things were made in some factory in Korea, and they were perfected to run on whatever those engineers in that building were working on that day. And so whether or not that part or piece may be better for other things like games or other 3D renderings that may happen, for Medit, we should just listen to the manufacturer's recommended specs. And you're good listening to us and our support people, because we know that the MSIs and the Dells and even the MacBooks with the M1s, they work really well because we've seen it now thousands of times. And we've seen certain brands, typically like the Black Friday, I Buy Power, like these Amazon or Walmart special brands, they don't hold up over time. And they have finicky electronic components. And actually what Armen said before is absolutely right. The amount of power coming out of the Thunderbolt port or the USB port can sometimes be inconsistent with those cheaper brands of computers. And that's not going to provide for a great customer experience. But what's cool is all scanners nowadays can run, they've been perfected, they've been optimized to do more on less computing power. So whereas like 2 years ago, we would say, hey, buy an i9 10th generation with an RTX 2080, you might want to get a water-cooled PC. Now you can run an i600 really nicely on the new M2 MacBook Air. It's a $1,500 computer. Or you can run it on an i7 12th generation with an RTX 3060, a $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 computer, especially if you're just doing crown and bridge and night guards and some ortho. If you're doing bigger cases all the time, maybe you want some more computing power like an i9 and a slightly better video card. And like even 3Shape, the computer it comes with is just an i7, with an RTX 3070. It's nothing crazy. It just, and even if you look at PrimeScan, they use an i7 8th generation, I think, and they've just optimized their hardware to work with that type of computer and that type of graphics card. So it's just better to listen to the manufacturers. Those are the guys in the factory testing things all day long and perfecting them. So it's easier just to listen.
Yeah. I wanted to thank you guys for spending this much time. I really appreciate it. I wanted to make sure people know why they should buy from CAD-Ray. They buy from CAD-Ray not because the price is the greatest, even though you guys are very, very competitive, and with all the stuff that you throw in, it's definitely cheaper. But you buy from CAD-Ray so you can have someone hold your hand when you need to learn something and learn those things. Talk to me if you have anything else to add. At the end, we can maybe talk about a little bit of the pricing of the i600. I wanted to ask you about that.
Of course.
That's like the cheapest the scanner that you guys have now, right?
Yeah. The i600 is $11,500, including a 3-year warranty, including all the stuff that I just mentioned to you, all the stuff that it comes with. So you buy a $1,500 computer with it for 13 grand all in with a 3-year warranty. It will blow your mind. If you've held an i700 before and you put the i600 in your hand, you basically won't be able to tell the difference. I can't. Actually, most of our sales and support team have sold their demo unit of the i700, and they just run around town with the i600. It's just you can't beat it for the money. I don't want to say there's no use for the 700, because people that are doing bigger cases, maybe they want that extra stuff and that HD mode and things like that. But for an entry-level scanner, man, it performs extremely, extremely well.
Great. Armen, you have anything to add at the end?
No, just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this. And I also want to point out that is one ugly shirt. I mean, the orange and it's just this whole time I'm repulsed. I can't look at the screen. I have to look off to the side.
I saw you leave. I thought you had to go to the bathroom to throw up, right?
Yeah, no. We have some guests here. We're going to be scanning. We're going to do a demo. They're actually waiting for me in the lobby, so I got to bug out.
Okay, great. Hey guys, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And hopefully we can do a couple of clinical videos with Armen.
Oh yeah,
Great.
you got it.
We would love to. Thanks for the time tonight. And any questions, we're easily accessible. So we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you very much.